Good afternoon. I'm Rose from Grandma Rose's Open Pantry, and today we're going to be making some marinara sauce. And the way I get the peeling off of my tomatoes is I cut the core out. These are firm tomatoes. I got them, a friend of mine has a fruit stand, and he went to Atlanta Monday, and he got me two 25-pound boxes of these tomatoes. They were a little greener than this, so I've let them sit in there and ripen. And these are real firm tomatoes. So what I do, I go ahead and cut my core out of these, and I put a little X mark in the bottom, and I have some boiling water right here. And this is a very easy way to get this peeling off the tomatoes. Now, if this was garden tomatoes,
this is called scalding your tomato.
yeah, this is scalding your tomato to get the peeling off. It'll just slide right off, as I'll show you in a minute. Now, if these were my garden tomatoes are softer than these. These are real hard, firm tomatoes. And I would not cut the core out until after I took them out of my boiling water, because it mashes the tomato. The tomatoes are a lot softer, so, but these are firmer, and the peeling will come off better if you. I used to leave my core in it until I took it out of my water, but I was watching the other day on YouTube, and I saw a girl doing it like this, and I said, well, that seems a lot easier than the way I'm doing it. So I'm going to try it next time I do tomatoes. So I will leave them in that water for like 1 minute, maybe a little bit more. It's just according to, like these, like I say, these are real firm tomatoes. So it's just according to how long it takes. Probably 1 minute though will be enough. And then I'll put them, I've got a bowl of cold water here, and I'll put them over in this cold water. And then they get really, really hot in that water. So that cold water enables you to be able to handle your tomato and get the peel off. So, and then after I do that, I will put them in this pot, and that's the one that I'm going to cook my marinara sauce in. So,
did you tell them what you're going to do with these?
Make marinara.
Marinara. Maybe
Make
I just
marinara
missed
sauce. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've got some more in there. I did some this morning, and we were going to video it, but something happened to the camera. We don't know what it was, and it didn't video. It didn't work. And so this is some I did this morning. I had 3 quarts and 2 pints, and I did exactly the same amount of tomatoes that I'm doing now. This is 22 tomatoes. And so these are really big, nice tomatoes. They don't make as firm, as dark marinara sauce. If I were to use mine out of the garden, it would be a deeper red than that, but these are a different type tomato. So, honey, let me get my tongs right here. Pick these up. You think you have everything ready, and then when you get on camera, you don't. You find out you've left something behind. But these aren't quite ready yet. And I do them on high. Okay, this one is. You see this peeling right here? Oh, sorry, baby, I didn't mean. You see how it's split right there? Let me get another. Okay, there you can see it. You see how it's split? That means that that peeling is ready to just slide off of there. So I'm going to keep. Okay, this one is ready. See, it takes about a minute. You see how it's split away from the tomato? So I'll put it in there. And I will just keep, and this one's ready. So what I'm going to do now, okay, this one is ready. Oops. You see how the skin wrinkles up right there? Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And it just slides off. So I'm gonna put this in my cold water to cool them down so I can handle them. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep doing this process, and then when I get through and get all my tomatoes peeled, then I'm gonna come back and show you how. Now this one has a bad place on it right there. So what I'm gonna do is when I'm taking my core out, I'll just cut a little bit bigger circle like this around my core, and I will get that bad place, because you do not want any bad places on your tomatoes. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I get all these tomatoes peeled, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the next step.
All right, show them how easy they are to peel now.
Okay, this one is cooled off, so you don't even need a knife. Sometimes you will, because when it's a little green around there, it sticks. But you see that? That is just, it's so simple. Wait just a minute. Okay, put it in my boiler. Now look at this one. Look at this. You see how that peeling just comes off of there? This is the easiest way you will ever find to peel tomatoes. And it's the only way to do it when you're canning. And there's a little bad spot right there. So you just cut it out. It wasn't visible from the outside of the tomato, but when you got in that tomato, you found it was a little bad place. So you just, if you find that, you just cut it out. So you see, this is how simple these are to peel. And it only takes a few minutes to get your tomatoes ready to start cooking them. So I'm going to finish this process, and then I'm going to show you what the next step is.
All right, she just got started cutting them up.
All right, there's a little peeling left on that, so I'll just put it over in my thing. The way I do it, I just cut them in halves, and then I just cut them in little chunks. You can do them any way you want to. There's a little piece of end. You can do them any way you want to, but this is just what I find works for me. Especially these really big tomatoes. Now the small tomatoes like we get out of the garden, you can just cut them in half and then quarter them. But these, the big little tomatoes like this, I just cut them in little chunks. And I don't think I told them where I got these tomatoes. Did I, honey? I told them a friend got them in Atlanta. But his name is Lee Yancey, and he has a fruit stand, and we live on Highway 112 in Cochran. And so Lee is down, we're about 8 miles from Interstate 16. So Lee is on Tuesdays and Fridays. He is down at, I think it's the Chevron station, the Exxon station. Anyway, it's at exit 32 off of I-16, and he's got his little fruit stand there. And he has all kinds of jellies and jams and fruit and vegetables. So anybody and boiled peanuts. Oh, he has boiled peanuts. So, and his boiled peanuts is a big business for him. So, but if y'all are down that way, stop and see Lee.
Or if you need boxes of tomatoes, he can get them for you.
Yeah. So, but I'm going to continue to cut my tomato. I cut them in half, then I cut them in quarters, and then I just cut them in little chunks. And then this makes them easier. They cook a lot faster like this. So I'm going to continue to cut these, and Roy's got some more in the hot water here. He's fixing to peel them for me. And then when I get them all cut up, my next step is going to be to put them on, and I'm going to cook them for about 20 or 25 minutes before I start putting my seasonings in them. And this is marinara sauce. Now, if I was just canning these tomatoes, what I would do is I would just put salt in them, and I would cook them for about 30 minutes, and then I would jar them, put them in my sterilized jars. And that's a process I'm going to show you a little bit later also. But this is marinara, so it takes 3 times as long to do marinara as it does just to can your tomatoes. So I'm going to finish cutting these up. Roy's going to get those others peeled, and then we're going to, our next step will be to put our, let them cook for about 20 minutes, and then start putting our seasonings in.
Okay, she made Roy peel the rest of them, and now she's got to cut them up.
I did. I'm almost through cutting them up, but it takes a minute. There's a little peeling right there left on that one, which is fine. I'll just peel it off and put it right there. Now in this, it really doesn't matter if you leave a little peeling on it, but if you're canning tomatoes, you do not want any peeling. And when you're canning tomatoes, you want to make sure you get, see that little green part right there? It doesn't matter in the marinara or spaghetti sauce or taco sauce, something like that. But it does when you're canning tomatoes. You don't want to leave, or that's what my mom always told me. Now, I grew up in this kitchen that I'm standing in doing with my mama just exactly what I'm doing today. And but she always told me, any bad place when you're canning tomatoes, and if there's a little part of that green core left in there, you have to get it out. But I wish when my mama was doing this, we used to have to peel tomatoes the old-fashioned way. You just take a knife and you peel them, because nobody had come up with the idea of putting them in hot water and leaving them for a minute and that peeling just sliding right off. So I think it takes a long time to do it now, but when we used to, when I was a little girl and I was helping mama and my sister was helping mama, my brothers were always outside with my daddy, especially when we were doing tomatoes, but me and my sister were inside with mama and we were helping. We'd wash jars, I mean, we'd do all kinds of stuff. And I have seen the time when we would have two, if y'all know what a wash tub is, a wash tub is a big, I think it's called a number 10 wash tub or something. It's what we used to use when we
I think it's number 2.
Number 2. And we would wash clothes outside. We had a ringer type washing machine, and we would wash clothes outside. And we would use those big, what we call wash pans. And so we would have 2 of those sitting in this kitchen floor, and we would have to can them that day. And so it took us all day and into the night, because we didn't have these shortcuts like somebody's come up with now that it makes it you know, a good bit shorter. So, but I'm gonna finish cutting these up. I'm almost through. And when I do that, then I'm gonna put it over here on this this large burner, because I got it on high right now. And I'm gonna cook them, like I told you, I'm gonna cook them for about 20 minutes until they get start cooking good, and then I'm gonna start adding all my seasonings to it. So when I get to that step and I get these the rest of these cut up, which I think that's probably almost all of them, and I have to go down in there and make sure I'm not leaving any whole tomatoes. And I love...
You just like playing in the tomatoes.
I like, well, it's memories, it's home, it's... My kitchen is my happy place. So, now this one, I'm not going to leave in here. You see how green that is?
It'll just be a hard place in your food.
It'll be a hard place in your... So I'm going to put it right there. It'll be a hard place, and it will not cook soft. So... And these tomatoes were kind of that way. They had a lot of hard places in them. So, so what I do, I just cut that out. But
when did you actually start cooking meals as a child?
About 11 years old, I started cooking. And I've been cooking ever since. So, and I'll be 76 years old in October. So I have been cooking a long, long time. And here's another hard piece right here, and I'm gonna cut it out. And as I see those hard pieces, I'm just gonna cut them out, because I don't want them in my marinara sauce. And so, all right, I'm gonna let this cook about 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna start putting, when it comes to a good boil, then I'm gonna start putting my seasonings in it.
Okay.
All right, our tomatoes have been cooking about 20 minutes. What I like for them to do, I like for them to start boiling, and I just stirred them down. So, but they were really boiling. But I like for them to kind of look like this, cook about 20 minutes, and then I've got 4 cups of chopped. These are Vidalia onions because I like the Vidalia because they make it a little sweeter, and we like our marinara sauce just a little sweet. So, because you'll see I'm going to put some stevia in mine. Now, this is optional. You don't have to do that. And you can use white onions, yellow onions, whatever kind of onion you want. I just like the Vidalia because it makes it sweet. And for this amount of marinara sauce, this amount of tomatoes, that's 4 cups of chopped onions. So, I'll stir that up in there. And by the time...
This is approximately 4 quarts of tomatoes at this point.
Yes, yeah, it is. And if you want more tomato, you can add more tomato. If you want less, that's just up to you. And now, when I did mine this morning, I wrote my recipe down. I never go by a recipe when I do this because I just go by taste. But this morning, when I did it, I wrote the recipe down so I could tell y'all exactly what I was putting in it. So that's 22 of those large tomatoes like you saw, and 4 cups of chopped onion of your choice. Now I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. That's not going in there. Okay, I'll use this. It'll be 1, I'm going to measure it for you. 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. Now you can use your fresh cloves if you want to, but this is just what I had in the refrigerator. So that's 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, and I'm putting a tablespoon and a half of salt. And I'll just take this and wipe it out. Now I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of, this is roasted garlic powder. So I got 1 tablespoon of that. This is onion powder. I've got a tablespoon of onion powder. Now, let's see. Tablespoon of minced garlic, tablespoon of garlic powder, tablespoon of onion powder, 1½ tablespoon of salt, which I already just put that in, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, and it's 1½ tablespoons of oregano. So I just kind of take this and do it half, and 1½ tablespoons of basil. And I'm going to stir this up. And as you can see, it started boiling again. Now this morning I had to cook mine for, let's see, 30, 20, that's 50, 20. I had to cook it 85 minutes this morning to cook it down to the consistency that I wanted it. So it'll take the same amount of time this afternoon. So I'm going to stir this up good.
What temperature you cook it down on?
It's on high right now, but I'll turn it down to like 7, which is medium high on my stove, and I cook it the whole time on medium high. But now if you have a really hot stove, if your burners are real hot, you may want to cook it on medium, like 5 or 6. But mine, my stove is kind of old and it's been used a lot, so I have to cook mine on like 7.
You're not getting a new stove anytime soon, so you can just, you can quit your sales pitch.
For years I have been wanting a gas stove, but you know what? This late in life, I'm satisfied with my electric stove now. So, and this is a 1/4 teaspoon of stevia, because like I say, we like ours a little sweet. And so, but now as this cooks, and as it cooks down, after it's cooked about an hour, I will taste of it, and it's according to the ripeness of your tomato. like these tomatoes are a little bit greener than those were that I cooked this morning. So I may have to add a little bit more stevia for the sweetness that we like. I may have to add a little bit more garlic or a little bit more oregano. But if I do, I will come back and when I get through cooking it, I will tell you if I had to add anything else. But this morning, the recipe I just gave you, it was just like we like it. And so, now this is gonna cook, like I say, about an hour and a half. But I'm going, every once in a while, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna stir it. I'm gonna make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom. And that's just part of the process. And it's a long process, but I'm telling you, it is totally worth it. And if you look at this, you will see seeds in this marinara sauce. I have seen people strain this and get those seeds out, but to me, this is part of home canning. Home cooking is having seeds in my marinara. I've always had seeds, and I didn't even know to strain it until I saw somebody do it the other day, and I thought, why would they strain their why would they strain all those seeds out? Maybe they just don't like the way they look. I don't know, but anyway, we like it. It surely doesn't bother us, and that's just to me part of home canning. So I'm gonna let this cook, and like I say, it's gonna take about 90 minutes. And after about 45 minutes, I'll come back on and I'll show you what it looks like as it's cooking down. It's gonna reduce by like a third by the time the 90 minutes is up. And so it may not take this quite 90 minutes. It may take it a little bit more. But until we see, then I'm just going to let it cook. And every 15 minutes, I'll come in here and I'll stir it down. And after about 45 minutes, I'll taste of it, see how it's going to taste. Because the more it cooks down, the more concentrated it gets, the more of those flavors, you will be able to taste the oregano, the garlic, the basil, because those flavors will intense some the more concentrated it gets. So when you first start, you don't want a taste of it now, because you won't get a true taste of what it's going to be after it cooks down. So I'm just going to let this cook, and every once in a while I'll probably just turn the camera on and just show you what it's looking like as it's reducing. So we'll be back in just a little bit. As you can see, this is after it's been cooking about 25 minutes. You see that red rim around the edge at the top? That's where I started, so it's already cooked down that much. And so that's just 25 minutes into the process. Okay? This is after it's been cooking 55 minutes. You can see how much it's reduced down.
All right.
Okay, it's been cooking about 65 minutes, and you can see how much it has cooked down. Do you see the top rim there? That's where it started, and it has cooked down, like I say, about a third. Maybe not quite a third, maybe a quarter. Now, it's real chunky now. If you want if you're making spaghetti sauce out of it, and you want chunky spaghetti sauce, you can use the same recipe for a spaghetti marinara. You can add a little bit more oregano or basil, whatever, or garlic to it if you're using spaghetti. But for marinara, I don't want mine this chunky. So I have a little immersion blender here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend this up to where it's not so chunky. I'm going to leave a few chunks in it. But what this does, if you're not familiar with an immersion blender, and some people call it other things, but I've always heard it called an immersion blender. So it's got two settings. It's got a low and a high, but I use it on high. And it's got little blades in it. All right. I'm not going to turn it on because it's got tomato in it, but it's got little blades in it right there. And so when I turn it on, those blades will break up all these little pieces of tomato and onion. Now, let me check that. And you can make it as smooth as you want it, or you can make it as chunky as you want it. And it's still got a few chunks in it, like that. And I don't want them like that. I don't want them quite that big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find those chunks. Now, if you have this on and you pull it up out of this hot stuff, you're going to get burned because it's going to splatter all over you. So you have to kind of keep it underneath or turn it off before you lift it up. Because believe me, I have gotten burned before. Because you forget about what you're doing and you pull it out while it's still going and you'll get burned. Okay, now, you see what that looks like?
Well, you really wouldn't want to use that in anything that's boiling.
Well, this was boiling just about it. I mean, yeah, you do.
Well, it wasn't.
I turned it down
Yeah,
while I
know.
was doing it.
That's what I was fixing to say. You
but
turned it down.
I turned it down. Now
Might not help a lot, but it would help some.
Now I've turned it back up, and I'm gonna. My timer is set on 17 minutes, so I'm gonna reset this timer, and I'm gonna do it for 20. I'm gonna cook it for 20 more minutes, and I'm gonna see how it's almost the right consistency now for us. Because by the time, if I'm using it for marinara, I'll usually put meat in it. So by the time I either get pasta in it or meat or whatever I'm going to use it for, then it's gonna thicken up. So it's almost to the consistency I want it, but I'm going to let it cook about 20 more minutes, cook down just a little bit more. And I've tasted of it, Roy's tasted of it, and it's good. It's really good, and it's got the right amount of everything, just the way we like it in it. So now I have to really be careful, and I can't go off and leave it. I'll be around, milling around in the kitchen, and I'll keep it stirred because now it will stick because it's getting more and more, it's getting thicker and thicker. So.
Well, one point to make here about, at this point, make it for the taste of your family.
Yeah.
Taste, season,
And the
until you get it
thickness.
like you want it.
If you want it thin, I would say it would be ready right now. But if you want it thicker, like I want mine a little bit thicker, I'm going to cook it down a little bit more. And when I was putting the ingredients in this sauce, I said a teaspoon of stevia. It was a 4th cup of stevia.
Repeat that again now.
And when I was putting the ingredients in the marinara, I said a 4th teaspoon of stevia. It was a 4th cup of stevia. I'm sure y'all knew that was not a 4th teaspoon. So, but I wanted to clarify that because I realized later what I had said. And I'm going to go over this recipe again with you. It's 22 of the large tomatoes like you saw that I used, 3 medium Vidalia onions or any onion of your choice chopped, and I chop them. I don't chop them real fine because I'm going to blend them up when I blend them. 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1½ tablespoons of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, 1½ tablespoons of oregano, 1½ tablespoons of basil, and 1/4 cup of stevia or sugar. If you want a sugar, you don't have to put any sweetener in it. That's just up to you. That's your taste. We just happen to like ours a little sweet, And these tomatoes were not sweet. They didn't have the sweetness like the ones we get out of the garden. Now, if I was getting them out of the garden, I probably wouldn't put anything in it because it's a sweeter tomato. But these just happen not to be so sweet, so I put a little stevia in. I'm gonna turn this on down.
Now, this started out as 20 tomatoes, right?
22.
22,
tomatoes.
okay, 22
Yeah.
tomatoes. And you're gonna wind up, after cooking this down, to something around 4 quarts, aren't you?
I had 3 quarts and 2 pints, which is 4 quarts. So I will have 4 quarts, at least 4 quarts of marinara. And in this, I've had my, oh, woo, that's hot. Let me get mine.
Your mama didn't tell you not to grab a hot pot?
Yeah, she did, but I didn't listen real well. I still don't listen real well. But as
If
you
you'd
can-
asked me, I'd have told you I was
I
hot.
know. As you can see in this pot right here, I've got water and it's almost to a boil. But I've been sterilizing these jars for about 20 minutes now. And I'll leave them in there until this gets ready. And I don't want to turn it down too low because this is the same pot that once I fill my jars, I'm going to put them back in here and I'm going to do a hot water bath for 20 minutes. So I don't want my water to cool off so much. So I got it on medium right now. So I'm just going to let my jars stay in there until I get ready to fill them. And as soon as this gets as thick as I want it, then we're going.
Let's talk about utensil size. You have the right sizes for what we're doing. And sometimes people might think, well, you need a lot of different specialized equipment and things to
No,
do home
no.
cooking. But if you've got a boiler about this size, doesn't have to be that same shape,
It can be a 6-quart Dutch oven.
Dutch oven, and
It
we've got
can-
one over there.
It's right here. Just stay right there. It can be something this size. This is a 6-quart Dutch oven right here. It can be, if you got a stock pot, you can use your stock pot. I've got one back there that's about this tall. It's about this big around, but I think it's 8 quarts. I use it sometimes. And you know what? If I just have extra tomatoes, say 5 or 6 tomatoes, I'll just use a 3-quart saucepan like comes in my cookware and I'll cook it down. It may take me 45 minutes just to do that. If I'm wanting to do fresh marinara for something I'm making that day, and I've got extra tomatoes, I'll just use my little 3-quart saucepan. So a lot of people use a canner. I don't have I do have a canner, but that's another story. But anyway, I use this. And if I canned a lot, I would get my canner out. But the canner is a lot bigger, and so I don't usually need that big of a pot.
Well, it works well for people who are just going to do small amounts, or a working mother that's working and she wants to do
Like
some
this?
canning too. Doing in the 3 or 4 quart amounts at a time.
That's cooking it. Now, you have to have something that's tall enough.
I meant a 3 or 4 quart contain that would hold 3 or 4 quarts.
Okay.
Like this one, don't leave it. But this one has 4 quarts in it. You can see that there's 4 quarts there. Well, using these sizes, you can just make 4 quarts at a time.
Yes.
Which is a good amount of
Right.
to make along. And in fact, if Rose runs out in the winter, before we get to summer, she just buys a few tomatoes and makes her marinara sauce in small quantities. But you don't have to have a large pots or a lot of equipment to do this if you're just starting out. Now, if you're an experienced canner, you know all of this anyway. But
You will need one
highly
of these.
recommend one of
To
those.
get your jars out, you will need, not exactly like this one. This one's probably 100 years old. This was my mama's, but I would not take anything for it. I use it every time I can, and I just am not gonna buy another one. This one does the job, and it has sentimental value, so I'm not gonna do another one. You will need a funnel. You will need a jar picker upper. you will need.
That's for safety purposes.
Yeah, for safety, but you have to be safe.
Yeah.
You will need a ladle to ladle your food in your jars. And a lot of people, I just use Roy's. He's got a little magnet thing here that he uses to pick up screws out in the yard if he drops them. So I clean it really well. And then you will need something like this to pick up your lids.
Do that again. You see, just look down in there, because they're boiling and hot, and you just pick
Yeah.
up one.
So they're in hot water, so you just pick up one at a time. You'll need something like this. But if you don't have that, you just use a tong. I use tongs a lot of times. And so, no, you do not have to have specialized equipment unless you're going to do this a lot. But for just a homemaker that's wanting to do it.
And you don't have a large family or a real large garden where you're just filling up 2 freezers. These small amounts just work great.
Yeah.
In a couple of hours, 2.5 hours, you can work through this.
Okay, well, as soon as this thickens like I want it to, then I'll be back and we'll put this in these sterilized jars. Okay. Our marinara, if you'll get over in here, honey, you can see how much it's reduced down and about how thick I want it. And I've taken 2 of my jars out of my hot water over here. And so I just
You
fill.
keep your jars and your lids hot
Yes.
until you seal the jar.
Okay, now I'm gonna get
I'll show you her jar, so you're sitting here in the hot water waiting for her to use it.
Alright, I'm gonna clean the top of this jar because you do not want any you don't want anything to keep your jar from sealing. So you do it finger tight. You take your jar and you put it back in your water like that. And if you saw my pickle video, you saw me doing the same thing with my pickles. So you just fill your jar up to your 1-inch head space, and I'll show you what I mean by head space in just a second. This is some good looking marinara here.
It's good tasting marinara too.
It is. It's really
Wow.
good. Okay. Now what I mean by head, let me get another jar out. So I can be careful when you're doing this because it's really hot, real hot. All right, I'm gonna clean my jar. I'm gonna go down in there. It's all a little tomato. So I'm gonna clean my jar real good. And I'm gonna get, when I say head space, you see this rim, this first rim right here? From there to the top of your jar is head space. Some people say leave a 1/4 of an inch. I leave a 1/2 inch. I leave a full inch because I got to put it back down in that hot water, and I want to make sure it's got plenty of space in there. So now I'm going, and I tighten this finger tight. So I'm going to put it in my pot, and I'm going to turn it back up to high because I want it to start boiling. And we'll fill this one. Now if you do this, you are going to really be glad in the winter time. You won't have to go to the store and buy your spaghetti sauce or whatever, your marinara sauce. You'll have it in your pantry.
We put enough to try to last from one tomato season to the next.
And I do some in pints because if it's just me and Roy, or a pint will work for us, but if I've got company, which I do a lot, then I'll take out a quart. And so I go around my jar like that. And make sure that you don't feel any cracks or any chips in your jar when you're cleaning your jar. Because if you do, you're gonna have to discard that jar and you're gonna have to get another one because it will not seal. Finger tight. Put it back down in your water. Okay, now we'll see if we've got enough for a couple of pints here. I don't think we're gonna have quite as much of this as we did the other. Maybe. Yeah, maybe we will. Okay. Let me get my other pint jar. And if I don't have enough for a pint, I'll just put it in the refrigerator and I'll make me and Roy something out of it. So, but I think there's another pint in there. Okay. Clean your jar. This is the coolest little thing. If you do much scanning, you're going to want one of these. They are really cool. Finger tight. Down in your water. Now I turn my water back up to high because I want it to start boiling.
Now let's review what we were talking about on the size of the pan of this particular pan. Your largest pan to do everything Rose is doing is this pan right here, and the critical thing is it tall enough so that you can put your quarts in it and cover it with water so that you can heat them, expand, and drive the air out from under these lids like is happening right now. That water that's bubbling there is coming out of these quart jars. And you want the pot to be several inches above this level. As you can see,
An inch or two is fine.
yeah, that's a couple of inches above the water level that is covering the jar lids. Now, if you're doing pints, you don't have to have this tall of a utensil. As you can see, the pint jars are half as tall naturally as the quart jars, and they're going further down in there. So you don't have to have a large pot to hold 4 quarts or 5 or 6 pints.
Okay, I had exactly, as you can tell, I had exactly 3 quarts, 2 pints, which is 4 quarts. So this recipe I gave you will make 4 quarts of your sauce. And I'm going to leave it in this water bath for 20 minutes. After it comes back up to a boil, I've got it on high now. So once it comes back up to a boil, I'm going to leave it 20 minutes. And when they come out, this is what they're going to look like right here. Right here. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. That's what I made this morning. Perfect thickness, the way I like it. So, I hope this video has been very informative for y'all. I hope you, I really hope you try some of this. It's a good many steps, but once you start doing it, I think you'll enjoy it. I love it. I love doing it. I've got another, it's already 4:35. I've been doing this all day. So tomorrow I'm going to can tomatoes. I've got some more, about this many more probably in there. So I'm going to show y'all how I can my tomatoes. And so, but I hope this has been informative. I hope the information that Roy and I have given you really helps you when you start doing your own. And you can learn new things even if you've been doing it for years, like me. I mean, I've been doing this for years, and I watch some of these girls on YouTube, and I learned, I pick up tips. So,
but it's just not overwhelming. It might seem like it, but once you start it, you'll find out it's not overwhelming.
It's not overwhelming at all. Really, if you like being in your kitchen, you will enjoy it. So, I hope that you watch this video all the way through. It's going to be pretty long, but if you're watching all the way through, I think you're going to pick up some really good tips and some really good information. So thank y'all for joining me today. I have had fun, and I'm going to have 8 quarts of marinara sauce that I can use this winter.
And Rose always reads your comments and answers. So if you have a comment, a
I do
suggestion,
try to answer your comments, and I have questions sometimes, and I try to answer all of those. And so I hope you like this video, and please share it. It really helps me when you share this video. You have friends that would like to know how to do this, and if you would share it with them, I sure would appreciate it. And if you comment, then usually I'll comment back to you, and give me a thumbs up. I always like either my hearts or my thumbs up. I love both of them. So, and that lets me know that you really enjoyed this video. So, until in the morning, when y'all see me can some tomatoes, I'll see y'all in the morning. Y'all have a good night.